Awkward. All right, we're live.
We're live.
Yay.
Everyone is recording, right?
Yes.
I know I just asked that, but then
Again, I went,
It doesn't hurt to double check.
yeah,
I hate the quick time the recording button is like when it's recording, it's black, not red.
Right. It's like the opposite.
That bothers me so much.
Yeah. It's confusing.
That's
Yes.
Quick time to fix that.
Counterintuitive.
This is why I use a different app altogether.
Oh.
La-ti-da.
Fancy. Joe just has to show us up.
Yes. Yes, I do.
Okay, I'm ready now. Good afternoon. Today is Friday, July 17th, 2020. And today we're going to be talking about the Twitter hack, hashtag Twitter hack, the new operating systems that just dropped this week, and more, because this is the iMore show. And joining us this week, as usual, is Georgia Dow of westmounttherapy.com and anxiety-videos.com. You had a long week dealing with our pain and our suffering and our anxiety. How are you doing, Georgia?
I'm good. I'm so excited to just get to be here and rant about technology. But, you know, it has been really rough on people. There's a lot of stuff happening in the world, the pandemic, all the other stuff. And so, yeah, people have been, I have a lot of people that are in a lot of distress too. So hopefully everyone that's watching is going to have some fun with us. Hopefully things are well with you. You can send me an email if you need a little reach out of support. But, you know, let's have some fun and talk about some tech.
Yeah, Georgia, I'm sorry, but you're actually probably going to have to do some work today because we've got our own bits of anxiety based around some crazy stuff that happened this week. Also joining us is Joe Keller, Assistant Managing Editor of iMore. Welcome to the show, Joe.
Good to be here as always. What a week. What a week.
What a week. And I'm Lori Gill. So let's jump right in with the Twitter hack just because it just happened on Wednesday. And let me tell you, so Georgia, you don't really spend a lot of time on Twitter. Were you completely oblivious to the whole thing? Did you know it was happening?
I only knew because Renee was like,
okay.
One is I was just in session from like 12 to 12, like 12 hours a day. So I was pretty immune to most of it, and I'm rarely on Twitter. But Renee was like, "Did you hear about what happened?" And I'm like, "What? What happened?" He's like, "Sorry, did you have a long day?" I'm like, yeah, I did. He's like, "Okay, now let me tell you what happened."
Yeah. Oh, that's nice. He took a moment. That's nice.
He's very sweet that way. And then I was like, "What happened?" And he's like, "You won't even believe it." And I'm like, "Oh my goodness."
Yeah, this was crazy. So I'm just sitting here doing my work, typing away, get a message in Slack. Somebody says, was Twitter hacked? And it was like they showed like the Jeff Bezos thing. And I was like, oh, Jeff Bezos got hacked. And then someone put in the Elon Musk's one. And it's like
now,
almost exactly the same
What were
wording.
the things that were like said for those that don't know? Is it rude? Can you not share it?
Oh, you can share.
Okay. What was said? What was said for those that don't know or don't use Twitter or like me that were just really busy this week?
Yeah. So each hacked account had approximately the same wording, which is, we're giving back to our community. We support Bitcoin and we believe you should too. All Bitcoin sent to our address below will be sent back to you doubled, only happening for the next 30 minutes. So basically somebody hacked into these accounts and I'll run down the list of what I remember got hacked because there was a lot. They were hacked into these accounts were hacked into, and that message was sent, and they were telling me, if you send me 1 Bitcoin, I will send you 2 Bitcoins. So send me as much Bitcoin as you can. You send it to me, and I'll doubly send it back to you. Apparently money was made off of this too. So like, $100,000. Yeah. So even though you immediately read that and you go, that's just ridiculous. Times
being so bad, times are so tough when people are in desperate times, right? Like this was primed, and it's from like you think that Twitter would be secure. They got the money to be secure. So you would think that these people have the money to be able to do it. And if you're really dealing with desperate times and you have 1 Bitcoin, you're like, I could double that.
Yeah.
I understand the want of hope to be like,
I know.
30-minute, maybe they would do this. Like Kanye, you could be like, yeah, you know what? He would do this.
Yeah.
Elon, like, maybe, right? Like you'd be like,
Yeah.
I can see that maybe happening, a good publicity stunt.
Yep.
Um,
I know. It was crazy. So it started with Elon Musk and Jeff Bezos. Those were the first two that we all noticed. And, again, I'm just sitting here, I'm like, oh, wow, two people got hacked. And then it was Apple. And then it was Kanye West. And then it was Barack Obama. And then it was Joe Biden. It was like so many huge names were getting the same exact tweet going out. And that was part one of the whole thing. By this point, I'm telling you, like, this entire incident escalated like within 30 minutes. It went from a couple of accounts to a bunch of major verified accounts. And then here's step two of this phase of what happened next, which is how Twitter reacted to it, which is they disabled the ability to tweet from every verified account. So if you had that little blue check mark, which I didn't have the blue check mark, so I actually got to keep tweeting while everybody else was all shut down and like they could retweet, but they couldn't tweet. They couldn't start a new tweet. So that was step one in this phase. At this point, I think this is where the Twitter community got incredibly creative. There is a Twitter account on the internet. I can't remember what it's called. If anybody is in their chat right now that remembers the name of this, there was an account that in 2014 posted every single word in the dictionary. So like from 2014 to 2015, every single word in its singularity from the dictionary. So people started retweeting words to create sentences.
wow.
It was amazing. Like Windows Central writer Dan Rubino wrote, "Help me." It was like people were actually writing things by retweeting this account's single word dictionary. It was incredibly creative. So many people were just like retweeting their own really old tweets or finding other people's tweets to retweet. And it just ended up being, again, this only lasted about 10 minutes as well. It was just so fun to see all these funny like ways of how this was happening. And then at this point, my account then stopped working. So there was a point where they went from disabling the ability to tweet from verified accounts to then disabling other people's non-verified people's accounts. Now, I had actually changed my password like as soon as I found out the hack happened. So obviously that seems like the right thing to do before you have any information. You just immediately go change your password. So I immediately went and changed my password. I think, Joe, did you get locked out at all?
No, I haven't changed my password in a while, but I also.
So I think the reason I got locked out right at that moment, right when that happened, I think it's because I had just changed my password. So I think they put me on lockdown for just a minute. I got it back like the next day I was back. I didn't even try the rest of that day, but by the next day I was back. So I think there for some accounts, it was just a quick, like, they just kind of like flushed me out and made me reset my password. And then I was able to log back in. But currently to this day, to this moment, it's 2 days later and the iMore account and the Windows Central account and the Android Central account, I believe, we can't get into them. They're still on lockdown. And Twitter they are going through accounts and reinstating them, but that takes time. So it's going to be a while for them to get that going. So
yeah.
Joe, did you read up on some information about like what happened? So Harry Solomon in our chat right now, he just questioned like, what about 2FA? So that didn't work. And Joe, I think maybe you're about to tell us why.
So here's the thing. This wasn't an exploit of individual accounts. This wasn't social engineering of individual accounts. According to, I think it's a Vice article. What happened was, and this has been essentially, but not explicitly confirmed by Twitter. What happened was someone got a hold of what I think is called an employee panel. And what this panel does is it gives Twitter employees access to the background of accounts. So one of the things that happened with some of these accounts is the email address associated with it was changed by these, let's call them hackers, um, social engineers, whatever. And so they didn't actually compromise the account through passwords or get around 2FA. I assume at least some of these accounts had 2FA. Yeah. And this, to me, this begs the question of why is this a thing? Why is this employee panel that can get into our accounts like this a thing? Why is there a panel that lets Twitter do anything except like block accounts or suspend accounts or delete them? Like,
yeah, the fact that it exists at all is
why?
Is like kind of insane. It's a huge security hole. Yeah. So this morning, Krebs on Security, that's KREBS, KrebsOnSecurity.com. We'll link this in our show notes, had a really great article about kind of going through kind of step by step what had happened. And I won't read the whole thing, but some of the big things to point out was that it appears that this happened because an employee was either coerced or blackmailed into giving this access. So it happened on some dark web, if you will, things. I'm trying to find the exact information about it. I don't have that, but so what had happened is that somebody was sending out a message saying that they had some accounts that they were willing to sell off, some ability. It wasn't actually accounts. It was the ability to go into a Twitter account and change the email address and password of it. So like the way it ran down the list was it appears that somebody that works at Twitter, an employee at Twitter, was either coerced or blackmailed into giving this information to someone who then sold it on at a website for social engineers or hackers. And then within 24 hours of that happening, that's when all of this stuff came out. So there's like a bunch of people who are SIM swappers, which is a word that I had never heard before. This is a thing. SIM swapping is a thing. And there's also accounts called OG accounts that are usually like one letter accounts or a very short word, like Joe, for example, is a Twitter account that's called an OG account. And they're kind of considered to be sort of high profile, influential people in the community.
And highly sought after accounts.
Exactly. So these accounts were also infiltrated. So there was a very big attack on Twitter that had nothing to do with like your password being compromised. That's actually why Twitter sent out their own support saying, we don't want you to change your password right now. This was not a password hack. Like people didn't get the password. And whether or not the employee did that of their own free will, in other words, like maybe they got a lot of money for it, whether or not that happened, or whether or not like they were actually blackmailed into doing it, like maybe there was some information that was found about this employee and they wanted to keep a secret, so that's what they did instead. None of that has been found. And Twitter, again, has not confirmed this. This information comes from the KrebsOnSecurity.com website, which is they were able to glean information on these SIM swapping forums that took place and kind of gleaned the information based on that to come up with a speculation for what they thought had happened. But there's one specific person that was officially discovered as having been somebody who hacked into Jack Dorsey's account, who was discovered. And they believe that this person might actually have some kind of tie to it. Let's see if I can find the details about the person who The person was a 21-year-old living in Britain, or who was comes from Britain but was living in Spain. This person was the person who was actually like found to have been the person to hack Jack Dorsey's account. So I think they have reason to believe that this person is also somehow tied to what happened on Wednesday. So that's some crazy stuff that just went on. It was a heck of a hack. So
yeah, and it happened just with like the first thing was just someone that knew that there was a user that could just change any Twitter account's email, right? For like a certain amount of money, they could just change the email, and they said that there was no refund. And then it kind of spun that might not even be that person that did that might have enabled the people to hack the accounts, but they may not be at all related to each other. Right. It's just they put it onto the dark web, and then someone else said, oh, now I can make some money. And so they went gangbusters and before Twitter could figure it out, tried to make as much money as possible.
Yeah.
But odds are if you do something that quickly, you'd probably be trained. I don't know. It could probably be traced back. I don't know.
I mean, like that. I have so little understanding of the community that does that kind of stuff, that hacks, that I couldn't even begin to imagine what they do to safeguard themselves from being traced. But I'm sure that at the level that this is, these people probably are pretty adept at not getting caught. Not that they wouldn't get caught, but they're probably pretty good at it.
Yeah, they'd need someone else that was really good at it to try to sleuth their way through to find out. But it's it was like I think pretty much everyone that uses Twitter knows about the hacks. So
even if you weren't really that invested in Twitter at all, you knew about it. And it was, again, like, I just happened to just be actively working while this was happening. So for me, it was actually a little bit joyous to watch Twitter, like the chaos of Twitter kind of like burning to the ground, like spiraling out of control and trying to like regain control. To me, that was like such a like social behavior phenomenon that I just was really enjoying kind of like watching how that happened. So, but to be clear for everybody who's listening, don't worry, don't stress. The likelihood of your password having been compromised at this point is very, very low. And Twitter is actually recommending not changing your password unless you try to log into Twitter right now and you get a message that says that they suspected some unusual behavior in your activities and they are requiring you to reset your password. At that point, obviously reset your password. But yeah, it happened on their end. It happened on the back end. It didn't, my personal information wasn't exposed other than by the people who actually had access to Twitter, like Twitter's. I mean, I'm picturing somebody sitting at a computer at Twitter, and I know that's not true, but that's what I'm picturing in my mind, is like somebody who like pretended they were a janitor, like snuck into Twitter and sat down at a computer.
Real spycraft situation.
Yeah. It's from all those hacker movies from the 90s that I watched that had no base for reality.
Yeah.
By the way, I don't know, have you guys ever seen Hackers? That movie is so wrong. Like, my favorite thing is when they like show the internet and there's just these like columns of code that like you're like
it's very Matrix
flying through, like as if like that's like real space that we can like at least virtually exist in or something. It's so funny to me how they would try to represent what it meant to be a part of the internet. It's so funny. It's good stuff. Okay, so now that we're done talking about the Twitter hack, let's move on to there's
now,
some
sorry,
new.
Can I ask something else before we go through? So, though, if you are not a big person on Twitter, this probably will not affect you, and Twitter will kind of figure out everything. But have they actually solved the first initial problem of the person that could get anyone's email? Is that solved on their end, and have they put out anything about, you know what, no worries,
Well,
there's not
let
going to
me
be another
check.
strange Elon Musk tweet, though that happens even when
I know. That has
not.
nothing to do with a Twitter
He
hack.
introduced that. He just does that.
So Twitter has been regularly sending out updates. Like to their credit, they've been really good at being communicative with the community about what's been going on. Their most recent tweet last night at at almost 8 o'clock Pacific time, they did share some more information about their investigation. They believe approximately 130 accounts were targeted by the attackers. The attackers were able to gain control of the accounts and then send tweets from those accounts. They were working with impacted account owners and will continue to do so over the next few days. They've downloaded the ability to, they've disabled the ability to download your Twitter data. So when you want to, like download your the information that Twitter collects on you, that stuff, that's temporarily disabled. They're taking aggressive steps to secure their system while the investigation is ongoing. They're still processing and assessing long-term steps to make sure this doesn't happen again. And that's all they've got so far. So I think where they're at with it right now is that they have stopped this specific thing from happening, but they're not guaranteeing that they have not
They haven't
locked
fully
down
solved the
security.
problem yet.
Right. Yeah.
Okay.
So I think everything is fine, but I think they're not going around saying everything is totally secure, because we don't even know how this even happened. So we're trying to figure that out. So
yeah. So don't send anything to any of the people that you follow on Twitter. If Lori suddenly asks for money, you can send it to Lori, but it probably won't get to Lori.
Yeah. I probably will not ask you to send me Bitcoin. If that helps you any, I don't know how to.
I could ask you to send me Bitcoin. You should not send me Bitcoin.
If y'all want to send Georgia Bitcoin, send it. But if she tweets it, that means it wasn't her.
That's fair. I'm good with that. That sounds like a good solution.
Yeah. So be wary of anybody asking for anything, though it seems like they've probably fixed they've probably locked down the problem and it won't happen again for this particular thing. So I think one of the things that kind of strikes me about this is just how big some of these social media organizations like Twitter are, how widespread and quickly things can go wrong. I think it was actually the Krebs on Security website that at the bottom kind of talked about how, at least the only thing that happened was that, people were asking for Bitcoin, because this could have created some really horrible things, like starting a war by tweeting from government officials and saying bad things about, our government enemies. This could have really been terrible. And what happened is evidence of the importance of these social media organizations to really lock down and secure their side of things, because the potential for cyber war it's real. And that Bitcoin hack is just like a drop in the bucket of how bad it could really be. So I hope this can be a lesson to Twitter and and all of the social media organizations out there that you are not safe, you are not protected. And even if you are protected from the outside world, you're not protected from your own employees. And there's got to be some checks and balances to make sure this kind of thing doesn't happen. The fact that one employee possibly could send this information out to an outside source for this hacking, that shouldn't be allowed. Something that important should require not just one employee, but maybe multiple employees, and maybe only at the executive level. And maybe if it's at the executive level, it should also be Jack Dorsey that has to, confirm it, or, something like that. There's certain levels of security that I think are just way too important in our world to let that kind of thing be slid, it's important, like we've seen evidence of it in the United States with the Russians having an influence on the elections. That was from outside in, right? And that was bad enough. But now we're talking about like from the inside out. So like they're getting better at it, and it's something that definitely people need to get, like our social media organizations need to get secure so that we don't keep having these things happen and then something really bad happen.
Yeah.
I think it's sorry, Joe.
The president of the United States regularly makes policy announcements via Twitter.
Exactly.
Yeah. This could go very bad.
Yeah. So, just there's we can't do anything about that kind of thing. There's no good advice about what Twitter should do to, secure their stuff.
But it does show us that as you're saying, the power, influence, for good or for evil, that social media controls. And they don't want to be regulated, and they don't want to have any changes made, and they want it to kind of be the wild, wild west. And because it's so free and open, that gives it a lot of power, and a lot of people can put things out there, which is wonderful, but they can also do it for ill. And I think that we are very unaware of how easily influenced we are by the sway of where society is going. The zeitgeist of where things are going do sway our own personal opinions. And I think that certain countries have known that, and known how they actually have tracked how long it takes to be able to sway opinion or, incite anger or unrest within countries, so that the country fights among itself instead of fighting among other countries that may be more autocratic and want to possibly take more land or control or start wars without anyone being able to do something because you're so busy fighting within itself. It is tribal warfare at its most base level, and we've known about it for a really long time. But I think that we're all like, oh, but it won't be me, I'm more educated, I'm too smart for that, and no, it works on everyone, and that's why advertising is a $1 trillion industry.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah. All right, so now let's move away from the Twitter hack. Let's ease our stress and anxiety about it, and talk a little bit about the updates. Now, these are not beta updates. This is iOS 13 updates, iPadOS 13, tvOS, blah, 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 all of them, all 5 of them. The 2 biggest things that came with these updates are audio for the news app on Apple's News app, and digital car keys is, I think, what Apple is calling it. So, Joe, talk a little bit about digital car keys. We saw Apple announce this at WWDC, and they said this is coming prior to iOS 14. Yeah. So it came. So talk a little bit about that.
So first I want to preface this by saying I've been seeing this thrown out a lot there. People have been calling this feature car key, like HomeKit. So it's one camel case word. It is not. It is, Apple just calls it digital car keys, written like normal words.
So do you think that it's not an API? Is that why?
I think I don't think it's an API that's available to most developers. I mean, it's available to car companies.
Okay.
And right now, only one car company, and that car company is BMW, who have made digital car keys for a single car. I think it's the 2025 series. It could be the 2021 5 series. They showed this car actually at WWDC. This was the way they demonstrated how car keys work. So what digital car keys are, is on more recent iPhones. So I think it's 10s and up. You can add a car key to the wallet app. You set this up through your car, and each car is a little different. The car should come. It really ought to come with instructions about how to set up a car key in your wallet. Now, once you do this, you can leave the little, I think the 5 series just comes with one of those little fobs. It doesn't actually come with a car key like my car still does, where you put it into into the thing and turn it on. No, it's you got that little fob and you press the button. And so what you do is you walk over to your car, you tap. Right now, you take it and you tap it to the door handle, and your car should unlock. And then you place it on. I think it's going to be a charger or some kind of NFC plate, because right now you need NFC to power this.
Mm.
And then you can actually drive your car that way as well. And you don't at any point need to have the little fob that comes with the 5 Series. It's just through your iPhone, or if you have an Apple Watch Series 5 and the new WatchOS 6.2.8 update, your Apple Watch, because it also works on that.
So it doesn't work on Series 4 Apple Watch?
No, it is.
It's only Series
According
5.
to Apple, it is only the Apple Watch Series 5.
I wonder whether that has to do with battery power and the NFC.
Yeah, well, I mean, Apple Watch has had NFC since I think the beginning, because it had Apple Pay.
But the battery power hasn't been as great as it is with a Series 5.
No, and yeah, so I don't know how that's supposed to, because one of the things they talked about was when they were presenting car keys, is they talked about that plate, that charging plate, that NFC thing, as a way to say, hey, this phone authorizes this car to drive. And
Ooh,
I don't know
I
don't know how that works with the watch.
Do you think that it requires NFC? Like, it's not just to unlock the door, but like for the entire time that you're like in the car?
Yeah.
And that's why it has a charging plate?
Yeah.
Ah.
Well, I think it might require the authorization to open the door and authorization to start the car. I don't know that, like, if you were to take it off the charging plate, the car would stop.
That would be really bad.
That would be a terrible.
Really,
that would be terrible.
Really bad, because everyone, someone else grabs someone's phone, and then that would be a horrible. That would be really.
If it's my car, that's bad for that person. They get out. They can get out of the car and walk. But yeah.
That would be horrible.
That would be terrible for safety. So I think it's probably just for authorization. And also, I think the BMW 5 Series also has wireless CarPlay. Well,
yeah,
if you pay a subscription or whatever.
Most likely.
And it says it's for unlocking, locking, and starting. It doesn't say driving. So hopefully that means just like you can drive the car.
Yeah, once you start the car, you're good.
Yeah, maybe
I think the thing.
Maybe the charging plate is there specifically so that you never have a battery die. So that, like, you know what I mean? So like if you don't have your key fob on you and you've been out at Disneyland all day and your battery dies, well, you can't get into your car under that circumstance, though.
So this is an important feature, though, of CarPlay. It's good that you brought that up. So CarPlay, and now with iOS 13.6, have this sort of background function. So for 5 hours after your iPhone loses power, car key will still work.
Oh, interesting.
So you can unlock 5 hours. So you can unlock your car, get it on the charging plate, and go, and it'll be charging, and your car will be running, and you'll be good. Now, one of the other important features of this is the ability to share car keys with other people.
That's really great. That's a great feature. You have to ask them what phone and Siri, like.
Yeah,
they have to.
and that bit's a little, but
you have a 4-watt. No, sorry, you can't drive my car. Wait till you upgrade.
So if you've ever sent anybody money through like Apple Cash over iMessage, it works in actually a similar way, except that it's initiated in the wallet app. But you iMessage them a digital car key that they can put in their wallet app. And what's great about these shared keys is you can restrict them as you need to. So let's say you're sending one to your kid, you're like your teenager who just started driving, and you're going to let them drive the BMW for some reason.
You know what? My brother, my dad had a BMW around the time when my brother turned 16, and he did let him drive it. No,
Because
it
you're
was
so
like a
sick
one-time
of
thing.
driving them out. You're just so sick
Yeah.
of it. You're like, fine, just go. I need
One
to
of these
relax.
things, one of these things that these car keys let you do is you can set like a maximum speed limit for the car.
That's
That's
insane.
great.
Yeah,
That's
What?
great. You
That's
can
for
only
us
go
these
10
days.
miles per hour,
Yeah.
but you can drive the car.
Let's see. You're going to so and so's house. Okay, so this is how you can generally get there. You only need to be going this fast at maximum to get there.
Which
That's
actually
know?
could save lives.
Yes,
Right? That is one of the
absolutely.
leading causes of death of teenage boys is
Absolutely.
automobile accidents, right? That power and want we make fun of but it really could save lives
Yeah.
because speed does kill even if you're wearing a seatbelt.
Yeah.
So that I
Now-
think is a great idea.
Now, this is only in this one car right now, but as this technology, and another important aspect is this, Apple is working with a standards body, I think called Connected Car Consortium, that is working to build these sorts of technologies into cars. So as it becomes more widespread and, goes up and down the car price range, very important, especially down. Yeah, I can imagine a parent buys a car for their kid, or in several years a used car. Even this will be in used cars, and they say, okay, and the primary key is with the parent, but then they can give a digital key to their kid and set these limits on it.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah. So and each configured person can have certain limits
Yeah.
on what there is. And if you lose your phone, now
Yeah.
if you lose your phone and it doesn't happen to be locked, you can securely remove the digital keys via iCloud.
Yeah.
Okay.
But I'm just going to say, in between that time, they could take your car too, right?
Yeah.
Like that is the risk of,
But,
all of these things make your life easier. And if
You
they
could
found your
also-
keys, they could do the same thing. That's
Exactly.
fair. That's
If-
fair.
If I left my keys on a counter and somebody noticed what
Yeah.
car I pulled into
Yeah.
they could take those keys and take
The
my
only
car
thing
too.
is once they have your once they have your phone, they have everything now.
Yeah.
Right? With the keys, they have to find the car. They could, find your car, locate it, your home. Like that's the only piece.
I would argue, Georgia, let me argue that something different on this now. None of these circumstances are common in any way whatsoever.
True.
But
Very true.
if there was no technology, right? Somebody could follow me around, and I don't mean to put any fearful thoughts in people's minds, but I've actually thought this before. So somebody could be following me around. They see me get out of my car. They see me go to the bank. They decide to attack me or something like that. We lost Georgia. They could steal my keys and steal my wallet. Now they know where I live in my home. Now they know what car I was driving, and they have the keys to my home and they have the keys to my car. If somebody steals my iPhone, if I lose my iPhone, somebody sees that, takes it, and they happen to know what car I'm driving. And yes, they do now have my phone to unlock my car. My phone is locked. They don't have access to where I live and all the other stuff that's important and private on my phone. And I can also, as quickly as I can possibly do this, go just destroy my phone so that it has no data on it. So again, like these are all like really way off scenarios, and there's always going to be a way that somebody can do something. But when Georgia comes back, I'll try to reiterate this to her. I don't think that you're less safe using your phone than you are without using your phone. I think both scenarios are just as dangerous or just as safe.
Yeah, it is sort of increasing the whole single point of failure problem, but like you said, it's kind of about likelihood.
Mm-hmm.
How likely is that to really happen? And that's a choice people are going to make.
And when phones, when you used to be like when wallets wallet cases first started becoming a thing,
Mhm.
I remember a lot of people saying what a dumb idea it was, because if you lose your phone, you also lose your wallet. I love wallet cases. I love using them. And the one thing that I discovered was that knowing that my cards and my driver's license and my money were also attached to my phone made me way more aware of where my phone was, because I knew I had two things that I had to be very safe and very secure with. So to me, it was actually like, if I knew that if I lost my phone, I might lose my car, I'm not going to lose my phone. I'm going to make
Mhm.
sure that phone is with me wherever I go.
That's what's great
So
about the Apple Watch. It keeps your phone in your pocket.
yeah, exactly. So as we're still waiting for Georgia to come back, hopefully she'll be back soon. I wanted to also talk about there's a company called Gig Car in the Bay Area. It's really popular, and in my town in Sacramento, I do have access to Gig Car as well, and it's the exact same thing, but it's not Apple specific. It's they have an NFC in their on their cars. They give you a code. You sign up for this account and they give you a code. You walk to this car and you use the code from your phone in your account on your phone. You tap it to the car and it unlocks it for you. I think the difference is that there are actual keys inside the car. You don't use a key fob. I think there's an actual key inside the car, but it unlocks the car for you. And I haven't actually used a Gig Car yet, because they're not as convenient in my town as they are in the Bay Area, because my range of limit for driving is small enough that I might as well just ride my bike. So I haven't used one, but I think that it's a really great idea to like sharing a car. So Georgia's back. Thank
I'm
you.
back.
Glad you're
I actually think that I might have found out the reason. And they said that sometimes this bug happens. So I get this StreamYard bug of my mic isn't working. And they said that it might be because if Zoom is active at the same time or Skype is active at the same time, it might cause a conflict. So now I'm just testing it out. I've done what it said, killed Zoom, and refreshed the page. So if anyone else gets that, you might want to try quitting Skype and Zoom before we start. But now I'm just kind of curious. So I'm like, okay, I'm not going to reinstall anything. I'm just going to see.
Just
Always
find
kill
out.
Zoom.
Yeah.
Always kill
Just
Zoom.
kill Zoom.
Yeah.
So Georgia, just you were the one who was kind of talking about this. I wanted to like reiterate to you what I had just said with Joe, which is I'll shorten it. Somebody could have just as easily stolen my wallet, stolen my keys, figured out where my home was, stolen my car, gone to my house. So in my opinion,
is it any more of a risk? And let's be honest, we probably protect our phone more than we protect our wallet or keys.
Yeah.
Right? Like it's probably closer to you.
Our keys are certainly, I mean, our phones are worth more than our keys. That's for sure.
Yeah. Fair.
So yeah, that was what I was talking about. And I started talking about the Gig Car, which is something that is big in the Bay Area. And we have it in Sacramento too. And it's that exact same idea that the digital car keys is that Apple has. It doesn't matter what phone you have. You can have any phone. You have an account with this company and they have these cars that are just parked out on the street somewhere. And when you want to rent a car for 10 minutes or a day, whatever you want, you find the nearest car. It's actually like using the Lime bicycles or the jump bikes. It's just like that, but they're cars instead.
Oh, that's amazing.
So you reserve it and then you go up to it and you have a special code that you use to unlock it. And there you have the car. So that it works. It works great. So I think it's evidence to me that this digital car keys thing absolutely can and absolutely will work. And I think it's going to be a matter of how many people will have access to this. Like CarPlay, it's kind of it hasn't really been widespread. Like some cars have slow adoption. And so what I think might be the problem is that there's just not going to be that many cars that have this. So right now it's only the BMW i5, but we'll probably see it in some luxury vehicles later. Lexus might do it. The chances of it just getting into like a Toyota Tercel, Probably not anytime soon. We still haven't seen CarPlay in a Toyota Tercel, so I think it's
that's
going to
Toyota.
take a while.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
Toyota. Toyota has been resistant to CarPlay. I do think so. Like CarPlay, I think is a little. I think it's a little easier to do just because just add it to your built-in system. It essentially lives as CarPlay is essentially an app on
Mhm.
whatever in-car system you've got, and so
Mhm.
I think so. Like companies like Honda, it is a standard option on often the second level of a particular car.
Mhm.
It's rarely a standard option on the entry level of a car.
Yeah, the base
Um,
model. Yeah.
yeah. So I think you're right. I think it's going to be a while before we see car keys head down the price range, even though
Yeah.
I would love that.
I'm just saying, we cover Apple. We need review units of these BMW
Yeah,
i5s so
obviously.
that we can review whether or not these digital car keys are any good. So BMW,
Yeah.
Make it happen, please.
Get on it.
I'll take any color. I'm not picky.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. I mean, I'll even take white, which is my
I
least
was going
favorite.
to say exactly the same thing, Lori. I was like, I'll even take white. I like white cars. I don't know why.
I know.
It's
I don't
black,
like them
dirt.
either.
I don't want to have to. You can see it. People that have white cars are always very good meticulous about keeping them clean.
And if not, so my significant other has a white car and is not meticulous about keeping it clean. It basically looks like light brown all the time.
Beige. It's a beige car.
Yeah,
Low level
exactly.
beige all the time.
Yeah. Joe, you have CarPlay, right?
Yeah.
So do you like, I mean, obviously you don't need a new car right now, but do you think that someday when you're ready to buy a new car, you're going to make sure that you go out of your way to get a car that also has digital car keys if years from now it works out?
Assuming it's in my price range, yeah.
Mhm.
Definitely.
I think for me that's been like the biggest problem that like no car is in my price range. Literally no car. I don't own a car because no car is in my price range. So even though I really want CarPlay, it's like I can't even afford like the base model car. I certainly couldn't afford like the step up with the CarPlay as much as I want it.
So what you do is you get one of those third-party units and then you just hook it to like a battery and you mount it to a bike.
And that's something I was thinking, I forgot about, is that you can actually add CarPlay using third-party stereos, third-party mounts.
Yeah.
So do you think that it's possible someday to get a third-party digital keys? So it would have to be something that you could place. The kit would have to come with a door changer and a steering wheel mount changer, right?
Yeah, I would really doubt a third party digital car key setup.
Yeah.
I
It
mean
just seems
because that has a lot to do with how the car runs with
right.
Whereas this like radio replacements and head unit replacements have been a thing forever.
Yeah.
Yeah. As I think it's Selwonk in the chat says, he brings up the fact that Android Auto is actually a mode on Android phones that you can enter. And I think we all want CarPlay to be a sort of standalone app on phones too. So we don't even have to buy third-party head units, because that, having gone through this process, getting that installed is kind of a pain. So many extra parts you need.
Yeah. And so many like potential points of failure where you don't know what caused the failure.
Yeah, and like if that's the case for something as simple as installing a new radio, I think third-party car key upgrades are probably out of the question.
Yeah, I think you're right. This just it is way too dangerous and like potentially locking yourself out of your car or potentially not being able to start your car. I think you're right. There's just no way that's going to be
It's a whole security issue too.
Yeah, exactly. There was one other big thing that came out, which is audio stories on Apple News. So Apple, again, at WWDC, Apple talked about this. Apple announced that this was coming. So it's curated stories that Apple is sharing weekly. So Apple News will produce about 20 audio stories per week across a wide range of interests, narrated by professional voice actors. These are audio versions of some of the best featured reporting and long-form pieces published by Esquire, Essence, Fast Company, GQ, New York Times Magazine, Sports Illustrated, Time, Vanity Fair, Vogue, Wired, and more. And the newspapers include the Los Angeles Times and the Wall Street Journals. These audio stories are available to Apple News Plus subscribers. So you have to be, you have to have the paid version of Apple News, the Apple News Plus. This, I think, is absolutely fantastic. I love that they're using this like sort of high production value version of it, because I think there's a lot of apps that already exist in the world that have a news reader, but they're not actually a person who's reading the news. It's usually like a digital version of it. It's like, having Siri read to you or having, voiceover or something like that. I love that this is like curated news throughout the day that are done by professional voiceover actors or newsreader actors. I want more than just the top 20 stories, though. I would love to see local news, and obviously there's no way that they could do something like this, but I would love to see more of this.
Yeah, this is something that I actually am really excited about, though Apple News, I was like, but this makes a big deal. A lot of people want to travel into work. They want to just hear about all of the news. They want it done well. They don't want to have all of the commercials that are involved when you listen on the radio and then this and then that. And it's just I'm with you. I think that 20 is too little, but I think that if it's used a lot and people are subscribing more because of this feature, to be able to have the news read to you while you're driving in so you don't have to worry about it, that's amazing. And in a professional voice. I've had things transcribed to me when I'm busy doing something. I've had a website and I've had it, read to me so I can do something else at the same time, because time is of the essence. And it's a horrific experience. The lack of proper pauses, intonation, misunderstanding of what certain how they are said, the reading out of long lists of numbers that no one needs to read, kill me. And this would be just a wonderful feature, and it'll work on CarPlay. And I would assume, would it work on your watch?
It was
so
an
if you're
iOS
jogging,
and
you could
iPadOS
listen to the news
update.
while you're jogging on your AirPods. I'm like, so I could see
connected to your phone or your iPhone or your iPad.
If you don't
Absolutely.
take your watch with you and you just if you only take your watch and your AirPods,
Yeah,
that would be awesome.
I'm looking
You
right
should only
now.
use one AirPod if you're out jogging, just so that you don't get hit by something.
Or you could use transparency mode so you can hear things better. It works.
That's
it works,
good too.
Georgia. I use transparency mode while I'm jogging, and it really does work. It helps a lot. It actually brings in outside noise so that you can hear cars driving by and things like that. It doesn't just it's amazing. It's transparency mode.
I'm going to try this out next.
Yeah, definitely. I'm going to guess, and Joe, maybe you have more information about it, but I don't think the audio mode just on Apple Watch. I'm fairly certain this is not the case. I'm looking at my news app on my Apple Watch, and I don't see any option to switch to audio mode.
Yeah, I think it's available just on iPhone, iPad, and Mac.
Mac.
That's what I see. Yeah, iPhone, iPod Touch, CarPlay.
Yeah, in Apple's news announcement of the launch of these features, they mentioned, and a footnote at the bottom, that you needed the latest updates for iPhone, iPad, and Mac, but they didn't mention watchOS or tvOS. I'm not surprised they didn't mention tvOS. They never do.
They never do.
WWDC, but
I know, poor tvOS.
Just sad little platform.
Yeah.
Could I mention another feature that I'm kind of excited about before we leave, if we're done with the thing? I like the fact that the health app, and it's a little tiny thing, but for me, I think that it's really wonderful, is that you can log features of symptoms, and you could share them. I think that the logging, like you can do your cycle tracking, but for my people that are dealing with obsessive compulsive disorder or have health anxiety, I usually have them journal. And so I'm happy that they have something and then they could send that to me. I think that that's helpful. So I was like, that sounds like a step in the right direction, especially with everything that everyone's going through. You know.
Yeah, that's absolutely true. The stuff that you put on your health app, it's yours and yours alone, but you can share it with your doctor, with your healthcare professional. And it's amazing. Just the day-to-day stuff, like I didn't sleep well last night, so I'm putting that in my phone. I had a headache this day, so I put that in my phone. And individually, they don't mean anything to me. But when I go to the doctor and I say, "Doctor, I've been feeling really tired lately and I feel like I get sick all the time." And then my doctor goes like, "Well, when is the last time this or that happened?" And I go, "Here's my health journal. Here's everything." Exactly. And my doctor can like sit with it, analyze it, look at some of the symptoms based on some of my complaints and evaluate my life, because that's the one thing we don't do every day. Like I'm not sitting here thinking, "Oh, I didn't eat dinner last night and I woke up with a headache." I don't think that. But if I write things down, if I'm basically journaling my health, and this is a habit you can absolutely get into. If I'm journaling my health, then it's all there so that when I do end up going to the doctor, they can much quicker assess some of the things that they would like to try to figure out what's wrong,
Exactly. And it just means that you'll have more accurate data. And when you give it to someone that is in the field with that, they can really do amazing things to be able to figure out, this happens every single time on a Tuesday. What else is happening on Tuesdays?
Yes.
And then you can say, well, I'm seeing I see my mother-in-law every Tuesday. You can be like,
right. So
maybe that, or it could be you're not drinking water, or like it could be something else, but it could be something that you don't notice until you see that it's every week or every pattern, or this is with my cycle, this is with my, and you can be like, oh, okay, this is the way that it works. And knowledge is power. You get to take back your health instead of that anxiety of the unknown, which is, I don't know what's wrong with me, which is very, very scary and makes people spin.
Yeah. Another reason why Apple Watch should be platform agnostic. I'm going to keep fighting for that until they finally do it, because I think it's really is a lifesaver, and it should be on iPhone and Android. And I'm sorry, Apple, get off your high horse. Let people save their lives. Let Apple Watch be on Android and on iPhone. Stop being so protective of it. People need it. It's saving lives.
The other thing they could do is make the Apple Watch truly independent. I mean, I think setup would be a question, but if you could just
set it up,
Apple Watch,
without set it up at the store, right, and then off you go. I would love that as well. Like, I think
you wouldn't even need to own a phone at all.
Exactly,
no phone.
Exactly,
it would be great.
I think a lot of people would love, would love to just have something. It's on your wrist. It's small. A lot of people are trying to break from their phones, but still want to be able to make a call, or still want to be able to text someone, but don't want to have some bulky, large device with them all the time. A lot of my family go out just with their watch, and it's freeing.
I think that Apple is probably heading that direction. I think the onboard app store for Apple Watch is an example, is evidence of that's coming. They're putting all their ducks in a row. Like, why else would we have an app store on our watch if not for the fact that there's some day when you want to have, Fitbit on your watch and only on, and you don't even have a phone to connect to that. You just want it on your watch. Like that, that to me is like evidence that they are heading in that direction, is making it totally not needing any kind of connectivity.
Yeah, and
Stephen Perry was saying on the chat room that not everyone has access to an Apple store, though.
Getting it set up in the store.
Yeah, that is a good point.
But what a lot more people have access to than an Apple store is a carrier store, and carriers are
that's a good one. There we go.
The Apple Watch, And
Yeah.
I think if you're going to get a standalone Apple Watch, you should get a standalone Apple Watch with cellular connectivity.
Oh yeah, I would imagine you couldn't get one without cellular
Yeah,
connectivity
if you're going
because
to get
there's
one,
so much you couldn't do without it. Yeah.
Yeah.
yeah. I'm actually at this point, I'm very, I know, because Apple wants to, upcharge. They like that little upcharge for people, but I'm surprised it's not a standard option, or not even option. It's just a standard part of the Apple Watch experience to have cellular built in. And I was going to say, one of the other things that we've noticed in favor of watch independence is, I think we're seeing an increased reliance on iCloud for syncing data rather than watch to phone. So one of the things in watchOS 7, one of the new features is the Shortcuts app is now on the Apple Watch. And the way you get shortcuts onto the Apple Watch is to sync them over iCloud. You sync them from your phone or even your iPad to or over iCloud to the watch, and rather than direct phone to watch connection.
Mm-hmm. But you do. So can you set up a shortcut directly on your Apple Watch though, or does
Not
it
yet.
have to come from? Okay.
It has to come from another device, but it can. One of those devices can now be iPad, because it's one of the options when you're creating a shortcut. Now, instead of show in the widget, because the widget is different, it is show on Apple Watch.
Okay.
And it'll go into the little Apple Watch section in the app now.
Yeah.
And sync.
And that's that's like, I know people who don't have a phone, they're elderly and they're just not into the phone, the smartphone thing, but they do have tablets. So yeah, that's a way to have an Apple Watch. That's just, it's one little step in that direction of having an Apple Watch and not having to have an iPhone to go with it.
And even if you don't want to have watches connected to phones and tablets or whatever, I mean, iCloud.com exists. Maybe make a watch manager on iCloud.com that people can go into in their browser if they want to control, more advanced options or control things a little easier than they do, poking and prodding on the little watch screen.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's definitely a lot of ways to do it. And I hope that they do, for sure.
Absolutely.
Well, we are down to the end of our hour. This has been a lot of fun. I really enjoyed talking with you about the Twitter hack. It's been quite a week. So, Joe, do you have something that you're about to say?
No.
Okay. Well, in that case, if people want to find you or talk to you on the internet, where can they find you?
They can find me on Twitter, because I can still tweet at jkeller87. That's JKELLER87. And I'm always on iMore. My iPad OS 14 preview's up, so go read that, please.
Yes, it's Renee level riveting. I'm not even exaggerating. It's good. And Georgia, if people want to get in touch with you on the internet, how can they get in touch with you? What's the best method?
Anxiety, you can check out anxiety-videos. On Twitter, it's at Georgia_Dow. And if you want to shoot me an email, Georgia@westmounttherapy.com.
And I'm going to say this time around now, I am back on Twitter as well, but I received an email from one of our readers recently because I had given my email address, and I realized I am more thoughtful and take a long time to chat with people when they respond to me through email, when we chat through email. So this time around, I'm going to offer up my email address. If you want to ask me a question about some kind of issue you're having with your iPhone or iPad or Mac or Apple Watch or Apple TV, you can get in touch with me at Lori@imore.com, LORY @imore.com. And I will probably respond to you, and I'll probably talk too much. So I apologize for that. I really enjoyed the reader email. It was nice. So I'm going to give that a try. It's more it's more intimate, I guess is a good word to use, when it's just one-on-one in an email back and forth. When it's on Twitter, because anyone and everyone can read it, I tend to be shorter and more vague because, I don't want to give the wrong information to other people who might have a different issue. So having these one-on-one emails makes it so that, somebody could say something like, I want to start using iTunes Match, but I'm worried that I'm going to lose all my metadata. That's like a small percentage of people that have that exact thing, so my advice is certainly not going to be the same for you as it would be for other people that want to use iTunes Match. So those conversations can be a lot better, a lot more robust when they're through email. So hit me up on the email. Thank you to everybody that joined us live today. It was really great to see you and talk with you. You guys had lots of great things to say. If you want to join us live, we try to make sure that we record every Friday at 1 p.m. Eastern Time, 10 a.m. Pacific Time. Sometimes we're a little bit late, but we're usually here at around that time. Lately, we've been good. You can also just, when our Twitter account is working, you can keep an eye out for it. We always tweet it out right before we're about to start the iMore show. It's really great having you here. So every Friday at 1 p.m. Eastern Time. And thank you to Jim Metzendorf, who always makes us sound good and always edits us and makes things perfect. Thank you for everything that you do. We couldn't be what we are without you. And thank you to all of our listeners who will listen to this later on this week or tonight or next week. Once again, thank you. If you want, you can say hello to us in the comments section. What's it called on iTunes when you rate something? But you're commenting too. Review. Send us a review. Review us on iTunes and let people know that we're out there for you. And thanks again for everything. This has been the iMore Show. Goodbye. Compliance.